How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffle Growlithe and welcome back to a brand new video. Today guys, I want to talk about the possibility of the upcoming Pokémon Switch RPG main series game being a Kanto Reboot. But before we get into that, I want to explain the difference between a remake and a reboot because some people get these wrong all the time. So let's explain that really quick. Now, a remake is to recreate something from the past exactly the same. As an example, you have Fire Red and Leaf Green being remakes of Red, Green, and Blue. That's what they were. They were remakes because they were the exact same story, exact same plot, exact same, style to it. Overall, exactly the same. But a reboot is to restart something or restart a franchise and go back to its roots. Now, it would be similar, but not exactly the same. It's almost like, you take something and they go into a bit of the future of it. So, for example, let's take this apartment I live in. If we were to go like 10 to 20 years into the future, this apartment wouldn't be the same as it is today. It would be the same apartment. It still would be the exact same apartment, but it would be a different apartment. Still, it would have changed over time. Maybe it's rotten now, or maybe it's even gone at this point. But it's still the same apartment though. So yeah, now that we got that out of the way, let's actually talk about how a potential Pokemon Kanto reboot would work like and why that would actually make sense. Now, let's begin with a few points here, 3 very important points, and that is, returning to the first ever generation of Pokemon makes sense. The second is playing on nostalgia, and also the third one is easy sell. Now, let me explain all these 3 in kind of a mixed pot here. Now, if you were to play with the nostalgia of people, going back to the first generation of Pokemon, which most people know about, makes the most sense. And also, it's very easy to sell nostalgia. If you look at something like Nintendo does this all the time, like the NES Mini and stuff. They sell those nostalgia products because they know we'll buy them. They know we will, because of nostalgia, buy them. Even though it's not really worth it, we will still buy them based on nostalgia. And now imagine going back to Kanto, rebooting the first ever Pokemon games. You would be able to sell so easily to the general public because most people know about the 151 first Pokemon. Everybody remembers this rap songs and all that stuff. So if you were to give them this package of like, hey guys, you know what? Here you go. Here's Kanto back again. But it's not the Kanto you remember. This is like the Kanto you remember, but a lot of time has passed and it's been booted and it's changed now. We have new Pokemon, we have new Pokemon included in the generation, new characters and that sort of stuff. That would make a lot of sense because just having like that title being like something related to Blue and Red, that's enough to, attract the general public. It's enough to give them like the feeling of like nostalgia. So you wouldn't even need to like actually do a sort of remake-ish type of thing about it. You reboot it and add a new Pokemon and stuff. That would make a lot of sense. I mean, look at stuff like Ghostbusters. Now, I know the Ghostbuster movie that came out recently was really, really bad, but that was a reboot because what you did was you had like the same premise, the same concept, right? And the same thing going on, but different characters, different ghosts, but some of the same ghosts as well, but some different ones as well, kind of mixing the two into one, That's kind of what a reboot is, but then also linking back and like talking about, or rather including cameos from previous characters. That's the same thing you could do right here if you were to do a Kanto reboot. You would include old characters here and there, like Red and Blue, maybe you'd find them in the game, you'd meet them and stuff, maybe you'd battle them and stuff. Who knows? My point is, if you were to do something like that, it would make a lot of sense. A reboot would make sense for Game Freak because it's easy to sell nostalgia. Now, the next thing you may ask yourself is, well, didn't we have Fire and Leaf Green remaking Kanto already once? Well, that's the point as well. Those games remade Kanto. This game would reboot Kanto, and this game would also reboot Pokemon. Now, also you gotta keep in mind that Fire Red and Leaf Green actually came out 15 to 14 years ago, and that is pretty darn insane. So them going back to Kanto really wouldn't be a big surprise. Now, you may also argue, oh, but we had Pokemon Go, giving us only Kanto Pokemon when it first came out. Well, obviously, that's what they would do because they played nostalgia there as well. It's easier to give people this, product of this game for them to download and spend time on and spend money on if you give them the nostalgia factor. And the same thing goes for maybe Alola. You might say like, oh, they gave only Alolan Pokemon, or sorry, Kanto Pokemon attention in Alola by giving only them Alola forms. Yes, that's true, but that also Alola and Kanto were very close to each other, very connected, so to say. And this game that we're going to be getting soon could also maybe end up being a Gen 7 game, because we've actually heard from people saying that the possibility of a new generation is very low. The fact that they would, make a brand new gen right after Generation 7, it would really not make much sense. So I don't actually know if the possibility of this next game being a Generation 8 game would make much sense, but if it was to make a be a reboot or whatever, that could make somewhat more sense. But that's just me thinking here. Now, you may also ask some other things, which I'm going to answer right now. Now you may ask, why would a Kanto reboot even be possible? Where did you even get the idea of a Kanto reboot coming out? Well, there are a lot of different people who have talked about Kanto reboots, and people who just talk about reboots. I'm going to mention a few of these. Now, two of these people are the Chinese Riddler and the Japanese Riddler. Now, why do these people hold any credibility? Well, the Chinese Riddler holds a pretty big chunk of credibility. Why? Well, this individual was the one who leaked Sun and Moon, who leaked the final evolutions for the Alola Pokemon, like Alola starters rather. He leaked their final evolutions and also some characters from those games and that sort of stuff. So this individual does hold some credit because he actually leaked and he rumored things that were right in the past. But that doesn't mean everything he says is correct. But the thing though is that he and the Japanese Riddler, who doesn't hold as much credibility because I don't really know about his feats and his, achievements and stuff within leaking, but though both these individuals at the same time posted, or rather, with a bit of an interval between each other, both posted about the next Pokemon games being a reboot. So that's the first thing hinting towards a reboot. Now, the next thing is actually this image that came out a few days ago showing us an image of Lapras from Route 20 being on Route 21, or at least we assume it's Route 21 based on how it looks like. We saw that image, but then again, I feel like that image is fake. Honestly, like, I don't know. There's so many things about it that just feel fake to me, but I could be wrong because the image was taken from distance and actually zoomed in. For anybody who's used a phone before, if you zoom in on, like, if you just take a picture from distance onto a screen, you know that when you zoom in, it's going to be blurry. So again, keep that in mind. It could be real, but it could also be fake. I'm basing it on being fake until proven real, so that's how I'm looking at it for the moment. But that's besides the point as well. Another reason I feel like this could be a Kanto reboot is the development time, because we don't know how long they've been making this, Pokemon Switch game for. So if they were to make the game within like a short amount of time, like give them, for example, 2 years to make the game, then I wonder if they would have enough time to actually make brand new Pokemon and a brand new generation and a brand new story and a brand new anime around and stuff like that. Like, I really wonder. Now, I think Generation 8 might happen. I still think that is a big possibility. I know a lot of people are saying no, it won't happen, but I still feel like it could definitely happen. There is a chance of it still happening and being Gen 8. But if it was Kanto, it would also make sense based on the fact that we don't know how long the game has been in development for. If it's been in development for like a year or two, then a reboot is very much possible. If it's been in development for 4 years, which is what some people have been, speculating, and based on the fact that we know that they were working on something in the past as well, if it's been in the works for that long, then it could be a Generation 8 game. We don't know yet. I would prefer Gen 8, in all honesty, than a reboot. I would way much more prefer that, but it could also be some sort of reboot that does things differently and also ends up being a new generation, but in a different manner. You know what I mean? Kind of like if you look at Black and White were soft reboots of the Pokemon franchise, but these upcoming games will be hard reboots. Like, going back maybe to a previous generation, but redoing it in such a hardcore way and changing it so much that it wouldn't be recognizable. That's what you can kind of do. And you know what I mean? Like, that's sort of the way you can go with it. And I don't know. My big question here is it possible? So before we get to the conclusion of this video, guys, I want to talk about some things that I would love to see in a Kanto reboot that'd be really awesome. Now, to begin with, if they were to reboot Kanto, they could do the same thing that they did with the movies. Now, if you look at the Pokemon movies, the 20th movie of the Pokemon franchise was kind of a restart of Ash's journey and a retelling of his start from, when he started back in Pallet Town. Now, the really cool thing is that initially when you watch it, it looks like, oh, it's just normal Ash's journey. You know what I mean? It's just normal Ash going through his normal journey from the start. But it changes as you keep watching. As you keep watching him progress in his journey, he doesn't meet Misty and Brock. He doesn't, gang up with them and they don't become friends and stuff, but he meets other people. And you also see that in this version of Kanto that Ash is currently within in this new rebooted movie or whatever, things are different. You have Pokemon from like Alola, you have Pokemon from, Sinnoh and stuff. Like, it's insane. That's kind of what a potential Pokemon Kanto reboot could work like. Bringing in Pokemon from future generations that, Pokemon from different generations, rather different regions, so to say, pulling them in and putting them into this, new Kanto sort of. You can do that, and also you can put in new Pokemon. You can say like, oh, there's this new breed of Pokemon, you know what I mean? There's this sort of new Pokemon, this sort of new Pokemon, or these Pokemon that came from this and this region, or this brand new sort of type of Pokemon, whatever. You can basically include a bunch of new Pokemon without having to make a brand new generation for it. The same way the reboots of the movies did, basically including, Alola Pokemon, even though we know for a fact there was never a Alola Pokemon in Kanto ever before, and there was never, Sinnoh Pokemon in Kanto before. We know that for a fact, but now, if we're rebooting it, we can, like, set this Kanto version of Kanto, tons of years into the future, where things have changed and there's, a bunch of new Pokemon, now exist, new species of Pokemon, new versions of Pokemon, new Pokemon from different, different kind of regions and stuff. You can do all of that, but also, you wouldn't need to redo the world to be exactly the same. You would be able to have a new character. You wouldn't need to use Red and Blue. Maybe Red and Blue are gone now. Totally gone. Maybe they're just in the history books, you know what I mean? You can read about them in history books and stuff. But this is like a future version of the Pokemon world and stuff. Again, there's a lot of possibilities that you can work with. And that's why I think a Kanto reboot could still work, and it wouldn't need to just be this simple, unmotivated and boring kind of journey. It could be different and new and interesting. I feel like there are so many ways you can make this awesome, but I know a lot of people don't want that, and I understand, guys. A lot of people don't want a Kanto reboot. Personally, again, I would prefer a new generation way more than a reboot, but there are possibilities for a reboot still happening. So let me know in the comments down below, guys, what do you think about this? And as a simple conclusion before we end off this video, guys, I just want to say, we don't know as of yet if this is going to happen. This video is simply speculative and for fun. So if you want to disagree with me, go right ahead. If you want to agree with me, go right ahead as well. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this. But in general, we don't know what's happening. We don't know what the Switch game is going to be like. We will just have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching, guys. My name is Rolf Rowlett. Have a good day, and bye-bye.